Okay, as always, you're welcome at any point to unmute yourself to share a thought or a question. You could also raise your hand either like this, or you could hit the reaction button and put some kind of reaction or send in a chat with a question or a thought, and I'll try to see the chat box over the course of the hour. Okay. So Erev Tov, L'kulchem, great to see you tonight. We're going to learn the sixth and final perek of Pirkei Avot. And first and foremost, of course, it gives me such strength to see you. And we have to continue to find these ways, these opportunities to learn, to draw strength from the tradition, but also to have that sense of connectedness with one another. As we mentioned in the first class, so there are 5 chapters of Mishnayot, of Pirkei Avot. And this 6th perek, which we're going to be focusing on tonight, is actually a collection of braitot. Braitot relates to the word bara in Aramaic, which means outside, in that these passages were not included in the Mishnah, but they were left out of the Mishnah. They're still from the same Tanaitic period of the 1st century, 2nd century of the Common Era. And the scholars suggest that one of the reasons why Chazal added this 6th chapter to the Mishnayot of Pirkei Avot is because this sefer, this tractate, is often learned between Pesach and Shavuot, and there are 6 Shabbatot between the end of Pesach and Shavuot. And so, of course, we could learn, and we do learn Pirkei Avot throughout the course of the year, and it's important to think about the teachings all year long. But because of this custom to learn Torah, to learn Pirkei Avot between Pesach and Shavuot, the rabbis added on this 6th chapter of Pirkei Avot, and now Pirkei Avot is known as having 6 total chapters. This 6th chapter, which I'm going to show you in a moment, so if you have the Pirkei Avot, is great, but I'm going to share the screen with you so you'll be able to see the Mishnayot on the screen. This chapter is known as Kinyan Torah. And the reason for that is because this chapter is going to speak about the value of studying Torah and how best to internalize Torah study in our lives. One might say that the first 5 chapters of Pirkei Avot speak about character traits and how to develop those character traits to be a better person and a better Jew. Chapter 6 continues speaking about character traits, but it speaks about how the Torah could be used as a powerful vehicle to help us become that best version of ourselves. How to strengthen our character traits, how to develop ourselves in our relationship with others and relationship with Hashem. So we do that through Torah study, through Kinyan Torah, through acquisition of Torah. And this chapter of Pirkei Avot that we're going to learn together focuses on Torah study. And this is a perfect prelude to the holiday of Shavuot, of course, which is when we celebrate the receiving of the Torah. Just a quick commercial shout out. I see all of you, and I'm not going to give you a personal hello because that'll take too long. But it's so great to see all of you and each of you. And I really appreciate you joining us for the learning. Okay, just to see you already for me already makes my night. And the learning that we do, at least for myself, is just icing on the cake. But of course, the learning is also important. Let me see if I could share the screen with you. Okay, so the top line of the perek there's an introductory line to the 6th perek of Pirkei Avot. And again, this is now the 6th week of the
Rabbi,
6th week.
It's not on yet.
It's not on yet. Okay, so let me try it again. By the way, it's good. Ayala is the official pointer-outer. If you can't hear me, if the screen is not shared properly, if somebody's talking, so yeah. Ayala, you're the Gabbai S of the shir.
Okay.
Let's try it again. How about now?
It's
now
on.
good?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So the introductory line to this perek is Shanu Chachamim b'lashon HaMishnah, that the rabbis taught their teachings through Mishnah. Mishnah means through Torah study, but also through reviewing, right? They taught it once, but also Mishnah comes from the word sheni, to review it. And Baruch shebachar behem uviv mishnatam. So the introductory line says, blessed is Hashem, who chose the sages and their teachings. And the question is, what's the purpose of this introductory line? So one explanation is that God chose the sages and gave them the ability and the capacity to decide matters of halacha. Baruch shebachar behem uviv mishnatam. Blessed is Hashem, who chose them, but also chose to give them the power to convey teachings and decide matters of halacha. There's a beautiful passage, famous passage in the Talmud Bava Metzia, where the rabbis were had a debate with Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer told the sea to reverse its stream, which it did, and he told the walls of the Beis Medrash to start falling, which they started falling, and he told the trees to kind of uproot themselves to show their support for his positions, and the rabbis, needless to say, were not impressed. The rabbi said, we still have the majority, and we feel strongly in our position. I'm not going into what they were debating. They were debating the laws of ritual impurity for a certain type of oven. And it was an oven made up of different parts, like a pizza oven. And so the rabbi said, we're not impressed by your bringing supernatural proofs.
Yeah,
And finally, Rabbi Eliezer said, hold on, please, okay. He said that if I'm correct, then a baskol, a heavenly voice, should come out from, right, and support my position. And at that moment, the heavenly voice came out and said, Rabbi Eliezer is correct. And I'm not sure exactly what the rabbi said, but they might have said, well, before the heavenly voice, it was 7-1, and now it's 7-2. But either way, we have the majority, and the pasuk says, Lo b'shamayim hi, that the Torah wasn't given to the angels, and the Torah doesn't reside in the heavens, but rather it was given to human beings to observe, to transmit to future generations, and also to decide. And the experts in Torah, namely the Chazal, the sages, they're the ones who decide matters of halacha based on majority. And so Rabbi Yeshua got up and he said, Lo b'shamayim hi, ein mashkichin bevatko, that we don't listen to a heavenly voice when it comes to matters of halacha, because the Torah is not in heavens, but rather it was given to all of us to decide the law. Baruch shebachar bahem uviv mishnatam, right? Blessed is Hashem, who chose the rabbis and he endorsed their teachings. And the Gemara continues there in Bava Metzia and says that they found Eliyahu Hanavi, and they asked Eliyahu Hanavi, they said, what was God doing? What did Hashem do when the rabbis overruled the heavenly voice? And Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, said that God smiled and he said, Nitzchuni banai, Nitzchuni banai. The simple interpretation of that line is that God smiled and he was having nachas from his children, from all of us who study Torah, and from the rabbis who are experts in Torah and who decide the matters of halacha. And he said, Nitzchuni. Nitzchuni is from the word that they were, nitzachon. And the rabbis were victorious even over me, God. However, perhaps there's another interpretation, which is that Nitzchuni means that they internalized, they eternalized me. That because I give them the ability to have a role to play in learning the Torah and transmitting it, because I give them this power to overrule a heavenly voice, Nitzchuni. That's the way the Torah continues for future generations. Because God appoints us as senior partners with him to initiate redemption, to put in human effort to accomplish, and then Hashem assists us, and also with Torah as well, right? We're the ones who decide, observe, and we're guardians of the Masorah, and the rabbis are the ones who, and we transmit it, of course, to the next generation. So that's one interpretation of the opening line. Another possibility is that these teachings of these 6 chapters reflect the different character traits that a person is supposed to aspire to. And the Mishnah, perhaps over here with this opening line, wants to teach us that the rabbis themselves are living examples of the traits that they're demanding of us. God chose them because they are paragons and examples of their teachings in these Mishnayot. So maybe that's what it means over here. Baruch shebachar bahem mishnatam. This opening line, this introductory line, either it means that God chose them and gave them the capacity to decide matters of halacha, but maybe another interpretation is that God chose them because they were pious and they were refined human beings. And there's these rabbis over the course of these 6 chapters, they're not just preaching derech eretz, but these rabbis were living examples of that derech eretz. And so Baruch Shebachar Behem, blessed is Hashem who chose them because they're tzaddikim, and therefore uva mishnatam, and that's why we learn from them. Not through their word, not through their preaching, not through their rebuking, but rather through their example. Just a couple of examples, like Hillel, for example. It says Hillel was Ohev Shalom, Verodev Shalom. Means Hillel taught us in Pirkei Avot, that you should be Ohev Shalom and Rodev Shalom. You should love peace and pursue peace. Well, this is the personality of Hillel, right? If you remember, the person who wanted to convert said, "Teach me the Torah on one leg." Shammai said to that man, "Get out of here. Well, you want to take the easy way out and learn Judaism in 1 hour? I'm not going to accept you as a conversion candidate." And Hillel, who was very loving, very tolerant, very inclusive, he was Ohev Shalom, Verodev Shalom. He said to this individual, he said, "It's wonderful that you're expressing an interest in Judaism, that basically v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," he says it in a different way, and he says, what is hateful to you, do not do unto others. And the rest is commentary. When there were 2 individuals who tried to get Hillel angry, and actually they made a bet, and they said, a man made a bet with his friend and said, if you're able to get Hillel angry, I'll give you $400, 400 coins. And if you're not able to get him angry, then I win the $400. Basically, putting it in the following way, it perhaps happened that one guy said, "Hey, I'll get him angry, and I'll bet you $400 I could do so." Long story short, he shows up at Hillel's house. He asks him all these foolish, silly questions just to try to rile up, to get Hillel angry. Hillel had been bathing in preparation for Shabbos, so he was really being disturbed by this guy. But he just listened patiently to all his questions, and he answered all of them. And the guy said to him, "Why are people from this region, why are their heads round? And why is the skin of the people from this region a certain color?" And the guy was really just trying to get Hillel angry. But Hillel was someone who was so patient, was very forgiving and tolerant, and he rarely, if ever, got angry. And the punchline of the story is that the man says, "Are you Hillel, the pious one?" And Hillel said, "Yeah, I am." And the man, who was now frustrated at this point because he realized that he had lost the bet, he said, "Well, if you're Hillel, there should be none other like you in all of Israel." And Hillel was upset. He said, "What did I say wrong?" And the man said, "Well, because of you, I lost $400. So Hillel was somebody who exemplified and embodied that which he taught. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, in our perek over here, he says, "Oy lehem lebriot me'elbona shel Torah." He says that every single person has a responsibility to learn and to teach Torah. Every one of you, who I'm blessed to learn with tonight, have the ability not just to learn, but you ponder it and you process it and you come up with your own chidushim and you can teach it to others. But Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, this is something that he lived by, because the Gemara tells a story in Ksubas that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who we're going to learn about in the second Mishnah, he's someone who would go to the seriously ill. And this has relevance for all of us in terms of the frontline healthcare workers who put their lives on the line. and he would go to these individuals who were stricken by a virus named Ra'atan, and he would sit with them, and he would get close to them, even though others would not be willing to get close to them because they were nervous about contagion, right? About the disease being contagious. And he would sit with them, give them strength, and he would teach them Torah. So he was willing to take a risk, put his life on the line, to be next to somebody in his time of need, to teach them Torah. So it's not just that he preached to us that you have a responsibility to learn Torah, but Baruch Shebachar Bahem of Mishnatam. Blessed is Hashem who chose these sages who are living examples of these traits which they tell us to aspire to. And therefore, right, they're not demanding it of us without living it themselves. And that's why we have to learn from them, and we're inspired by them. The first Mishnah begins with a quote from Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir says, Kala osek b'Torah lishma. Right, so this Mishnah presents the picture, my friends, of a person who learns Torah for its own sake. The person is not learning Torah for accolades or for honor or for any personal agenda, but rather he's not doing it for any advancements or personal bias or ulterior motives, but rather the person is learning Torah for its own sake. The person that's being described by Rabbi Meir is somebody who learns Torah because they want to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they realize that Torah is the repository of divine wisdom of the Torah Shebechsav and Torah Shebal Peh. And so any of you who study Torah lishma, for its own sake, for the right reasons, to develop a relation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so listen to what Rabbi Meir says, an amazing Mishnah. He says, Zocha lidvarim harbe, that person merits many things. V'lo od, not only do you merit many things, we'll come back to that, what that might mean, ela shekala olam kulo kedai hulo, that the whole world, the creation of the entire world, is worthwhile just for this person alone. If you have one person, he or she is so important that they're learning Torah lishma, that the creation of the whole world was meaningful and is worthwhile for that person. Nikra Reya, the person is called a friend by Hashem. Ahuv is called beloved. Oev et hamakom, he's somebody who clearly loves Hashem. Oev et habriot, he loves other people. Listen to this. Misamech et hamakom, misamech et habriot. When a person learns Torah lishma, he gladdens, he brings simcha to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to wrap our heads and grapple with what that line means. We're not going to really focus on that too much tonight, but it's just a very, very striking and intriguing line that he brings happiness to Hashem, misamech et habriot, and he brings happiness to others. I would just say in one line that if a person learns Torah for its own sake, he brings godliness into this world, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, kaviyachol, has simcha when godliness is brought into the world. And he brings happiness to others because when a person learns Torah for the right reasons, he grows and he brings goodness and kindness and mitzvot into the world, which brings happiness. Umal bashto anavavira. The Torah study for its own sake clothes him with humility and fear. Umachsharto, and it prepares him to be a tzaddik and a chassid and a yasher and a neman, etc. Okay, so this Mishnah is all about the amazing level that a person is on when he or she learns Torah for its own sake. You'll merit many things. The creation of the world is worthwhile for you. You're called a friend and beloved. You impact and influence the world, and it actually positions you to reach your potential and the best version of yourself. And so it gets us thinking, this Mishnah gets us thinking about the mitzvahs that we do and the Torah that we learn. And what it's showing is that it's not just about doing the mitzvah or learning the Torah, but it's about really thinking about doing it with honesty, with integrity, just because you want to connect with the mitzvah, you want to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The first bracha of the Berachos HaTorah in the morning is, right, Asher Kedesham Esav La'asok B'divrei Torah. Right, we thank Hashem for the mitzvah of sanctifying us to engage and toil in the study of Torah, right? La'asok b'divrei Torah. And then the second half of the bracha is v'harevna, right? Either it's the second bracha or it's the second half of the first bracha, right? V'harevna, make the Torah sweet for us. And for us and our children and God, your children, kulanu yodei shemecha. We should all be people who know your name. V'lomdei Toratecha lishma. So the Berachos HaTorah, those first two paragraphs, first one is, thank you Hashem for giving us the mitzvah, an opportunity to be osek in Torah, to engage in Torah. It's not just superficial learning, but it's to immerse ourselves in that study and to really put our whole being and engage with our whole being in the learning. And that's why some rabbis, didn't like, no, the Torah shouldn't come to you, right? What are you, a rabbi, inspire me, bring the Torah to me. No, you have to go to the Torah and you have to get involved and engage in it. But the second level is that when you're engaged in the study of Torah, it says, please Hashem, let us and our children be kulanu yodei shemecha, v'lomdei toratecha lishma. Let us learn your name and let us learn Torah lishma. Okay? So learning for personal agendas, for the sake of advancement, is deficient learning. And that's called learning shelo lishma. And the Mishnah is teaching us, right, that to aspire to learn Torah for the sake of connecting with Hashem, and for the mitzvah of studying Torah and being guardians and transmitting that Masorah. Let me share with you what you all know about Avram and Eliezer. And it's a very, very powerful line. This was actually one of the favorite lines of my Rebbe, Rav Yehuda Amital Zatzal, my Rebbe at Gush. And he was a Rosh Yeshiva and founder of Yeshivat Har Etzion. And he said, and he would very, very much enjoy the line of, in Shabbos Shmona Esrei, V'taher libeinu la'avdecha be'emes. We would dance in the lobby every Friday night to that line in the Shmona Esrei. Those 4 words, V'taher libeinu, purify our hearts to serve you be'emet, with truth. Not just to serve you, not just to do mitzvot, but to do it without biases, without agendas, without looking over our shoulder, without the side benefits, rather for the right reasons to serve you with integrity and honesty. Let me share with you the story of Avram and Eliezer. Right, Avram, we know, sends Eliezer to find a wife for his son Yitzchak. And Avram asks Eliezer to make a shvuah, to make an oath to that effect, that Eliezer is going to go to Haran, to Ur Kasdim, and to find somebody, to find a woman who's a woman of chesed, who's appropriate for Avram's son Yitzchak. And one question is, why does Avram require Eliezer to make a shvuah, to make an oath? After all, Eliezer was the trusted servant for decades for Avram and Sarah. So why in the world was Avram concerned that Eliezer was not going to pursue this mission with integrity, with honesty? And long story short is because Avraham was concerned that Eliezer had a personal agenda. And why? Because and this is hinted at, when Eliezer comes to the family, comes to Rivka's family, so he relays the whole mission to the family. And he speaks about the fact that his master, Avraham, told him to go to Haran to find a woman for Yitzchak, and that he himself asked his master that what happens if the woman is not going to want to follow me back to Canaan? What do I do in that situation? And when he says that, he says, Ulai lo telecha isha acharai. Maybe the woman's not going to want to come after me. What do I do then? But the word ulai is spelled Aleph Lamed Yud. Aleph Lamed Yud can be read, the word really means ulai, maybe, but if it's spelled Aleph Lamed Yud without the Vav, so that it could also be read as Eli. For me. And Rashi says that Eliezer had a daughter. And Eliezer for years was hoping that his daughter would be considered as a shidduch for Yitzchak. And so Eliezer had a personal interest over here for this mission to fail, right? Because he was hoping that his daughter would have a chance to marry Yitzchak. And so there was something within Eliezer that made it very, very hard for him to go on this mission altogether. That's why when he presents the test of Rivka to see whether she's a person of kindness, remember what he says to Rivka, he says, well, he actually made the litmus test. He said, to whichever girl I say, give me water, and she gives not only me water, but she gives water to the camels, she's the one. Because that demonstrates her kindness. And that was the most important trait in Eliezer's mind. And he understood that was the most important trait for Avram's family. And when he introduces the test, there's a shalshelet. There's a squiggly line there. And that squiggly line represents a dilemma. That squiggly line appears 3 times in the book of Breshit. It appears 1 time in Vayikra, so it appears 4 times in the entirety of the 5 books of Moses. Each of those times it's referring to a time of tremendous inner struggle and inner dilemma. One other example of a time is by Yosef, right, where Mrs. Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, is tempting him to sleep with her and commit essentially adultery. And Yosef, and it says, Vayima'en. So it has that squiggly line of a shalshelet. That shalshelet is found by Yosef. It's found by Lot and his family leaving Sodom. It's found by Moshe. It's found by Moshe in Vayikra giving over the kahuna to Aaron. And it's found the 4th time is here by Eliezer. And the reason why there's that shalshelet, Vayomar, when he presents the litmus test, is because Eliezer had a personal bias here. And he was really deep down, he was struggling whether he should go through with the mission. And deep down, he was very conflicted whether he should try to do everything he can to achieve success in the mission, or maybe he could kind of behind the scenes undercut it and undermine it. Because if the mission were to fail, that would actually be maybe bad for Avram, but it would be good for who? It would be good for Eliezer. Because if this mission to Haran fails and no girl wants to come back with him, then maybe his daughter would have a chance to marry the righteous Yitzchak. And so Eliezer is a hero in the story because Eliezer overcomes his personal interests and he fulfills the wishes of Abraham faithfully. And we in the learning of Torah as well, we need to push aside our agendas and our biases and fulfill the wishes of Hashem faithfully. And if we do that, the first mission of this parak says that's the way you create a beautiful legacy, and that's where you achieve all the different praises that are recorded in the Mishnah. Eliezer struggled with it, but he heroically was able to reach that level. He was able to push aside the personal agendas and do the right thing, even when difficult. And please Hashem, we say this in every Shmona Esrei of Shabbos, purify our heart, v'tayar libeinu l'avdecha be'emet, to serve you, not just serve you, but to serve you be'emet, with truth. And in the Mishnah, you'll notice over here in the Mishnah that it says, Zoche, the first line is Zoche ledvarim harbe. You merit many things. And then it lists off a whole bunch of different qualities and different items. So one of the commentaries suggests that what this mission is telling us, that when it comes to other mitzvot, and when it comes to observing mitzvot maybe for not the right reasons, okay, you grow a little bit when you do a mitzvah, no matter what. But if you learn Torah for the right reasons, you're able to take the elevator in terms of personal growth. And you're able to get all these items all at once, which goes against the general rule of gradual growth. And let's move on a little bit to the next mission. I had a mashal to share, but I want to get to the next couple of mishnahs that I wanted to draw your attention to. So, Amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, second mishnah. B'chol yom v'yom. Every single day. Bat kol yotzeis mehar chorev u'machrezes v'yomeres. Every single day a heavenly voice comes out from Har Sinai and says, Oy lehem lebriot me'elbona shel Torah. Woe to the people who have the great responsibility of Torah, me'elbona shel Torah, from the great responsibility of Torah. What he means to say is that of course, Torah shapes our lives. Torah helps us grow. But woe to the people who don't take advantage of the Torah. Woe to the people who don't follow and learn the Torah properly. Right? So that's what Rabbi Shimon Levi is saying, that this is a heavenly voice that goes out every single day. What does he mean when he says that it goes out every single day? So the first thing I want to share about this is that at Har Sinai, it says, Kol Gadol V'lo Yasaf, that there was a great voice of Hashem at Har Sinai. And V'lo Yasaf, what does V'lo Yasaf mean? Either it means Lo Yasaf means that voice of Hashem will never happen again. Lahosif, Yasaf could mean Lahosif, it'll never happen again. And the other possibility is that it means, I like screen sharing, but I also like to see everyone. So I stopped the screen sharing. So the other possibility is that Kol Gadol V'lo Yasaf. The first interpretation is that it's a great voice of Hashem at Har Sinai and it'll never happen again. But the Onkelos interprets it to mean V'lo Pasak, that the divine voice of Hashem never stopped beckoning and calling the Jewish people and human beings. The voice of Hashem continues in every generation, every year, every single day. So that's why Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says in this Mishnah, B'chol yom v'yom. Every single day, a heavenly voice goes out. Hashem is constantly speaking to us if we just listen closely, or we straighten our antennas to be able to hear the voice of Hashem. Vayomer Hashem el Avraham. Hashem says to Avraham, Lech lecha, go from your birthplace to the land that I will show you. Out of nowhere, Hashem speaks to Avraham. It doesn't tell us that Avram was righteous and he walked with Hashem and he was amazing and he was kind and he was wonderful, and that's why Hashem spoke to Avram. Out of nowhere, Hashem speaks to Avram at the age of 75. The Maral says the reason why it leaves out the righteous traits of Avraham, the Maral says the reason is to show that the love of Hashem and the covenant with Avraham is unconditional. The covenant with the Jewish people over the course of the generations is not dependent on our righteousness. The covenant is eternal, whether we like it or not, no matter what. Certainly if we observe mitzvot and we get along with one another and we're on a high level, we'll gain greater blessings from Hashem and a higher level of divine providence, no doubt. And if we're distant from Hashem and we don't get along with one another, then we're going to have a lower level of providence and things won't be as good for us overall. We don't know the system. But the covenant with Hashem and Bnei Israel is an eternal covenant. Hashem loves us and has a covenant with us unconditionally. So that's the Maral's explanation as to why it just says that Hashem spoke to Avram and it doesn't mention Abraham's righteous traits. Because had it mentioned that Abraham was a tzaddik and that's why Hashem chose him, that would imply that if Avram later in life was on a little bit of a lower level, or his children or grandchildren were not on the same level as Avraham, maybe the relationship is no longer valid. No, the relationship is unconditional and eternal for all generations. However, the Sfas Emes gives another beautiful explanation as to why it just says that Hashem spoke to Avraham out of nowhere. The Sfas Emes says, why? Because Hashem was saying from the very beginning of creation, Lech lecha, go, hear my call. There's a God of the world. Lech lecha, lech lecha, lech lecha. And Avraham was the first one to strain his antennas and to work on his character to reach that level to be able to hear the call of Hashem. So Vayomer Hashem al Avram, it was out of nowhere because it was Avram who merited it through who he was to hear the call of Hashem. So that's why this Mishnah says, Amar Rabbi Shuv and Levi, B'chol yom v'yom bas kol yotzes bahar chorei, B'chol yom v'yom, my friends. B'chol yom v'yom bas kol yotzes. There was a voice from the very beginning of time of Lech Lecha, and the voice of Hashem continues sending messages through our experiences, through Torah, and we have to listen closely to be inspired by them. And the second idea is that every single day it should be as if the Torah is fresh and as if it's a new gift, which we're excited about. And then he continues and says, Shekol mi she'eino osek b'Torah nikra nazo, if any person who doesn't observe Torah or doesn't engage in Torah is abandoned or excommunicated from Hashem. And then he says something very interesting. V'omer, let's see here. Not getting this. Okay, not able to. Okay. Okay, you see where the green is? Oh, actually here. V'omer v'haluchos ma'aseh elokim hema v'hamichtav michtav elokim hu. That the tablets were the work of Hashem and the writing was engraved by Hashem. Hu charut al haluchot. And it was engraved on the tablets. Trying to, for some reason, it's not working for me here, or whatever. It's okay. Al tikra charut. So here's his explanation. Rabbi Shub Levi says an amazing thing. He says, Al tikra charut ela cherut. That when it says engraved on the luchot, charut could mean cherut, which means that it's engraved on the luch. Here we go. That's what I was trying to do here. Okay, but my green highlighting is not working as well for some reason. Okay, so he says that when the pasuk says charat ala luchot, that it's engraved on the tablets, that you could understand it as cherut, as freedom. She'ein lecha ben chorin ela mi she'osek b'talmud Torah. The pasuk says that the writing of Hashem was engraved on the tablets. So that word engraved is charut, but it also could be understood as cherut. And it teaches us that a person is a free person only if he or she studies Torah. V'chol mi she'osek b'talmud Torah, any person who engages in the study of Torah, harei ze mit'ala, is uplifted, is elevated. And so the question is, how do we understand this incredibly counterintuitive statement? I would have thought that when you have mitzvot, so you have a lot of different restrictions and requirements, right? I would think that a person is free if they don't have to study Torah. So what does Rabbi Shua Levi mean when he says that there is no free person except the one who observes Torah and mitzvot? So perhaps we could understand it with a Gemara that relates to Shavuos. The Gemara says that Hashem at Har Sinai told Bnei Yisrael, he said, the pasuk says, "Vayatzu b'tachtet ahar," that the Jewish people encamped at the foot of the mountain. And the word betachtet means at the foot of the mountain, but it also could be understood as tachat, as underneath. So the rabbis suggest an astonishing idea. They say that at Har Sinai, even though it says Nasa v'nishma, that we kind of willingly accepted upon ourselves the Torah, but that Hashem took the mountain, put it over Bnei Israel, and he said, if you accept the Torah, all is hunky-dory, all is fine and dandy. But if you don't accept the Torah, so then sham tehek furatchem, there will be your burial place. Two questions. Aside, it's an astonishing passage in the Gemara. It seems to contradict the concept that the Jewish people willingly declared Nasa v'nishma. But the rabbis are kind of like deriving this from the pasuk, but they have some kind of message here they want to convey to us. And again, from the pasuk says Vayatzu b'tachtet ahar, that the Jewish people encamped b'tachtet at the foot of the mountain, but maybe it means that the Jewish people were placed underneath the mountain. But I have two questions on this passage. The first question is, why does it describe the mountain as a gigit? Kaf aleim har kegigit. A gigit means a barrel. Why not just say that God overturned the mountain upon them? What's the symbolism of that metaphor of the barrel, kegigit? The second question is, when Hashem says if you accept the Torah, it's good, and if you don't accept the Torah, so it should have said, what the Gemara says is, sham tehek furatchem. There shall be your burial place. What should it have said?
Here.
It should have said po, right? Po, here will be your burial place. So I once heard an incredible idea, which is that if you have a fly buzzing around, hopefully you don't have any flies in your house now, but if you have a fly buzzing in the house, if you have a fly buzzing in the sukkah, and what do you do? But it's not yantif. I'm not going to get into the halachos of trapping flies. But what do? You take a cup, right? You take a cup, and you put it over. There's water in this cup, so I can't overturn it. Sorry, but you overturn it
Here.
and you trap here. Ayala demonstrated for us.
There you go. Ba-doom.
And you put it. So what happens? The fly starts whizzing around. The fly seems like he's having an amazing time. The fly looks like he's involved in a disco party. But really what's happening is that the fly is slowly running out of oxygen. And in a little while, in some time, the fly is going to die. That's what Hashem is telling Bnei Israel, and this is what the rabbis are trying to teach us. Hashem said to Bnei Israel, if you accept the Torah, wonderful. But if you don't accept the Torah, he turned the mountain over them like a barrel. And he said, and basically, we were like that fly, like the fly in a cup, so too we were under that barrel. And he said, if you don't accept the Torah, what I'm going to add now is, if you don't accept the Torah, then it's going to seem as if you're free to do whatever you want. You're free to live life and to wake up and to be whoever you want to be without any restrictions, without any requirements, without any expectations. Although, of course, hopefully you have some expectations from role models. But if you're not keeping Torah and you're not listening to role models, so then it seems like, hey, I'm free to do whatever I want. It seems like I'm having an amazing time. However, if you're free from any guidelines, if you're free from any ethics and morals and Torah guidelines, so then it seems like you're having a great time. But sham tehek furatchem, down the road, you're going to realize that what life did you lead? It was a life without meaning, without purpose, without growth, without connection to Hashem, without relationships with other people. So that's maybe what this line means. Rabbi Shua ben Levi in the Mishnah says that Ein lecha ben chorin ela misha osek b'Torah. Take a look at that line again, right? It's a very counterintuitive line, that there is no free person except the person who engages in the study of Torah. And what Rabbi Shua ben Levi is teaching us is that without mitzvot, then we might think we're free, but really we're enslaved to our desires and influences. With mitzvot, with those restrictions, with that sense of discipline, with that sense of guidance, that's when we're free from our desires, from those shackles of social conformity, from those shackles of the desires that really force us to follow those compulsions. With mitzvot, we're free to choose to achieve our potential. And so Rabbi Shua ben Levi is suggesting that when we're commanded to either give charity, to express generosity, or to not bear a grudge, to curb our anger, or to recite blessings before we eat to show appreciation, this is really true freedom. This enables us to live in accordance with our true essence, which is to be good and righteous individuals. It enables, it ennobles, it empowers us to be truly free, to be truly free individuals who enjoy a great relationship with Hashem and our fellow human beings. Rav Avram Yitzchak Cohen Cook writes in his Haggadah Shel Pesach, I have seen the free person whose spirit is enslaved, and I have observed the slave whose spirit is free. And the Jews in the Kovna ghetto asked Rabbi Ephraim Ushri, they said, should we still recite the blessing of Shelo Asani Aved? We're treated as if we're animals. These are horrific, atrocious conditions. We're slaves to the Nazis, Yamach Shemam. And the people in the minyan wanted to know, maybe we shouldn't make this bracha. How can we honestly thank God each morning for not making us slaves? They asked Rabbi Ephraim Ushri in the Kovna ghetto. And Rav Ashi answered that Avdut, slavery, is not a physical condition, but rather it's a spiritual condition. And as long as we maintain our commitment to Torah, we're spiritually and intellectually free. And therefore, he said we should continue saying the blessing.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm bothered by the word. It says, Oy lahem labriot me'elbona shel Torah. Elbon in literal Hebrew is an insult. It's not a positive thing. Could it be that he's saying that if we don't keep the Torah, that is the embarrassment? Because otherwise,
that could very
translate.
meaning Olo Lebriot Melbona Shel Torah means that it's embarrassment if you don't keep the Torah.
Is that what it's saying?
I understood it as, Elbona could mean responsibility, and it could also mean like the criticism. And it's the criticism of Torah to the person who doesn't observe it, to the person who doesn't learn it. So I think, you could basically, I think, suggest what you're saying. Take a look at this. The last Mishnah I wanted to highlight for the last couple of minutes is Mishnah 10. And the other Mishnah I would speak about the 48 different qualities that a person should have to succeed in Torah. And a person should restrict his material pleasures and focus on the spiritual, because that's truly important. And listen to what Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma says in Mishnah 10. I was once walking on the way, a person greeted me on the way, and he said hello. And he asked me where I'm from. And he said, and when he found out that I was a big rabbi, he said, Rebbe, right? Amarli, you see with the Amar, the green highlighted. Rebbe, Ritzoncha shetadar imanu b'mkomenu, do you want to live with us? V'ani eiten lecha elef alafim, we'll give you all the money in the world. Amarti lo, and I said to him, Bini, Bini, even if you give me all the money in the world, I am not going to move. Bini, imata nosin li kol kesef v'zahav avanim tovus u'margol shabolam. You give me all the money in the world, any dar, el b'makom Torah, in a place of Torah. In other words, more important than all the money in the world is Torah, and my friends, is to be part of a community in which we challenge one another to grow in Torah and Chesed, like all of you are part of our community. Below Ode, and not only that, listen to this astonishing line. Put on your seatbelts. When a person passes away after 120 years, he doesn't take his silver, his gold, his stocks, his homes. All he takes is his Torah and his good deeds. And this reminds me of a couple different stories where I think they asked, I forgot which wealthy Jew they asked, and they said, "What are you worth?" And he answered the interviewer and he gave a certain number. And the interviewer said to him, "Well, Baron Rothschild, you have much more money than that. You have many more assets than that." I don't remember exactly who it was. And you have many more assets than that. So he answered, he said, "You didn't ask me how much I own. You asked me how much am I worth?" And that's the number I just gave you is the amount of tzedakah that I've given this past year. And that's really our true worth, is the chesed that we do and impact we have of others. Second story is, I think this story happened to one of the senior members of the Reichman family, where when he passed away, there was a letter that was left for his family members, which was that he should be buried with a pair of socks.
Right.
Some of you might have heard this story.
Yes.
And they went to the members of the Chevra Kadisha and they said, "Please, can we bury our father with a pair of socks?" And they said, "Absolutely not. We don't put anything into the Aron." With rare exceptions. I mentioned in the Parsha here about the Israeli flag for those who are on it. But so the children said, "Please, our father's last desire, apparently, for whatever reason, was that he wanted these pair of socks to be in the casket." And the Chevra Kadisha said, "Absolutely not. We have no clue what he was thinking when he requested that, but it's not going to happen." And lo and behold, he was not buried with the pair of socks. 30 days later, another letter was opened. It said, "Open this up on such and such a date." They opened up that letter. And in that letter, it said, "My guess is that by now, you'll have realized that I've been buried and you observed the Shiva and the Shloshim, but that you've learned by now that you can't include a pair of socks in a casket. And my message to you, my dear family, is that even a simple pair of socks you can't take with you to the next world. All you take with you is your good name, your good deeds, and the Torah, and of course, the family and the good deeds that you leave in the world." And that's what Rabbi Yossi is saying, that even if you give me all the money in the world, that's not worth as much as living in a place of Torah and excelling in Torah. There's also all right, I'm not going to ruin it. Let me end with one story. There's another story, but I'm going to share that other story another time because I'm really getting towards the end over here. But I'm going to share one story. And I'll save the other story for another time. Before I end with the story, any thoughts or comments? Basically, this perek is all about, the first 5 chapters is all about personal growth. It's about ethics and morality, the primacy of ethics and morality in our tradition, and how we have to live accordingly. And this last chapter is also highlights some ethical traits, but it's really focusing on how does a person reach excellence in ethics and morality? How does a person reach his or her potential in this world and make an impact on the world around us? The way to do that is through what? Through Torah study. Through Torah study. True Torah study is done not for personal interests, not for personal biases, but lishma, for the right reason, to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when you do that, great things will happen as a result. And that voice of Hashem is constantly in this world through our experiences. And a person is truly free when you live with that sense of discipline of Torah. Torah means generally observance of mitzvot, but it also means the study of Torah. And that when you're connected to the study of Torah, and mitzvot as well, of course, so then that's when you're truly free, because you have that sense of discipline, that strength of character, where you truly are free, like Rav Kook explained, and like Rav Ephraim Ashri explained to the Jews in the terrible conditions in the Kavna Ghetto, that even there, they can say, thank you, Hashem, for not making us a slave, because we're truly free spiritually. And more important than all the money and silver and gold and possessions, we don't take those with us, can't even take a pair of socks with us, but we can take with us the Torah study and the mitzvos and the family that we impact and all the friends that we touch in our lives. So I want to end with a story about Talmud Torah, with Torah study, but I wanted to open up to you if anyone has any questions first, and then we'll conclude with one powerful story. Let me see if anyone, let's see, the chat. Okay, nothing from the chat. Everyone's so well behaved tonight. Wow.
Except for me.
Except for you, okay. Now you're also Ayala.
Yeah, one thing I learned something this week about Shavuot, Rabbi. That said,
go ahead, Nora. Nora, Rafi, tell us about Shavuos.
Yes, it said that on Shavuot, Shavuot is like Rosh Hashanah, like the Day of Judgment. We are being judged as how we used our time during the year in terms of learning Torah, or what. Did we waste our time, or we really used it for the purpose of learning Torah and growth and all that? So that was interesting to me. So it's kind of like a
So we're being judged. It's like a kind of like a Rosh Hashanah when it comes to the study of Torah.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me that after 120 years, it says that we're going to be asked. The second question we're going to be asked is, Kavata itim la Torah. The simple explanation of that is, did you set aside times for study of Torah?
Yeah.
But I once heard that kava in Tanakh could mean also to steal. Kuf bet ayin could mean to steal. So maybe it also means, did you steal those moments to study Torah? When you were at the line at Costco with 6-foot distancing, and it was a 20-minute line, did you chaperein, and did you catch that minute to study Torah? So, of course, taking an hour on a weeknight is phenomenal. But for you and for everyone, we should try to, find those moments, find those hours, find those moments to kavata, to steal the moments, not to steal the foods from Costco. You can't steal from anywhere. I mean to steal the moments, steal those moments of studying of Torah. Nora, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
To point also that we learned that the Tochacha that we just read this last week is read before Shavuos, as it is and in the fall before Rosh Hashanah, to teach us the importance of keeping the mitzvot and what the bad possibilities are if we don't.
You're absolutely right, Dick. That's why we read the Tochacha before Rosh Hashanah and we read it before Shavuot, to show us the negative consequences of not following the Torah. But also, I'll just build upon that, which is that the Gemara says we want to get the curses behind us, out of the way, so that we could begin a new season and just experience blessings. And that's my bracha, just play off that, Dick, which is that this challenging period of time, that we should start coming out of this tunnel, and that the curses and the challenges and the difficulties and the losses and everything of this pandemic, that that should be behind us with light and goodness and blessings up ahead.
Right.
Let me tell you a story to conclude. Such a blessing to learn together with you. Okay, you guys are getting tired. People starting to get drowsy, starting to yawn. But let's tell. I'm going to tell you the story about the 14-year-old yeshiva bacher in Warsaw. This is in Warsaw during the years of the war. The mother had just given birth to a baby, and the 14-year-old was sitting and learning Masechta Bava Metzia, a long Tosfos. And the Nazis, Yamach Shemam v'Zichram, stormed in, and they killed the baby.
Oh, God.
And the teenager, the teenager, soon after that incident said, God, Ribono Shalom, I will never forgive you for this. I will never learn your Torah again. From this minute on, we are the biggest enemies. This is a true story. This 14-year-old yeshiva bacher, he survived the war, went to Israel, got married, had children. He said to his children in Israel, no, you should know this, that there is a God, but I'm his enemy. I'm his sworn enemy. Whatever God tells you to do the opposite. Because of what had happened during the Shoah, and he had to watch his baby brother was killed by the Nazis. I'm God's enemy. Many years later, already grown children, this man was walking down the street in Bnei Brak, and he passed by a house and the windows were open, and he overhears the person learning Gemara, and he pays attention. And the person is learning the same page of Bava Metzia and the same exact Tosfos. And he walks up the step and he doesn't know why, and he knocks on the door and he comes in and he sits down at the table. And the man gave him a yarmulke and a Gemara, and they started to learn together. It was like he had never left. And sometimes when parents and children, right, where they separate from one another, they leave one another, and the children come back, and it's as if they never left. So too this man, deep down, he had that Pintel Yid, he had that connection to Torah, and he reconnected with Gemara as if he had never left Torah. We go on many journeys during our lives, and there's a lot about life that we don't understand, but Torah is that constant. Torah is part of the DNA and identity of every single Jew. And let us recommit. This parak is all about the study of Torah. And true Torah study is done with integrity, with honesty, but also it's done with a way of warmth and inclusivity. The Torah that we study is not supposed to kind of like put us into a silo where we don't think about others or we look down or condescending towards others, but rather the Torah that we study is supposed to make us even more sensitive to the cry of the child, to those who are unfortunate, to those who are needy. But let's recommit to that Torah. All of you are connected to that Torah, and so it's obviously not like we ever left it. But even if a person leaves it for an hour or two, that person left it for decades. But even if we leave it for an hour or two, right, we always come back to it. We always study it. And our lives are truly enriched by the Torah that we study together, either as individuals or together as groups. I wish everyone a Chag Sameach of Shavuos. Let us re-accept and recommit ourselves to Torah study and have many occasions in good health.
Amen.
Hopefully together soon.
Amen.
We'll be able to study Torah together. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Rabbi. Rabbi, next Tuesday at 7, you said?
Next Tuesday from 7 until 10:20. You could join us for all 3 hours, or you could join us for part, however much you want, starting 7 o'clock.
You unmute me. Go back. I'm going to say hi to Mike.